in that? No. Oh, okay, just then pull that down a tiny bit. Is that good?
That's good.
Is that good?
There you go.
All right, this is the checklist. Just so you know, we're here, I'm here, you're here, they're there. And do the funky monkey. Hear ye, welcome to Sacred Grounds. I'm reading this, you understand. With me as your host, the longest running open mic in the known and unknown universe, and that's been told to me by many people, so I'm going with that. Sounds good anyway. I was here in 1974, standing right here, except they had a little stage, and I was much better looking back then. Anyway, please support this reading by enjoying the food and drink served here. That's the kind of the schmoozy deal we have. He lets us, we do that, everybody's happy, we all go home with a fat pocket. Ignore that. Give Fiona and Teddy, our hosts, a big round of applause. Without them, we wouldn't be here. Poetry of all kinds, ladies and gents, is welcome. And we do ask you to respect the mic, and that really means keeping conversations to a whisper. Put your phones on mute, vibrate, and do not distract the speakers or pass in front of them, because people like to see their faces, like to see mine. Anyway, that's one of them. Also, keep it to the time limit, usually 5 minutes. But that can change because I like getting everybody on the mic, and sometimes I have to say, okay, it's really 4 minutes. So make sure you're looking at your work in that regard in case things happen. We have 2 shows, the 7-ish, which are about to start now. It's actually, that clock is 10 minutes fast, so it's 7:05, really. And the 8:40-ish, which comes after the feature, which tonight is E.K. Keith. She's not in the house yet, but she will be. EK. If you want to keep in the loop, we have an opt-in email list. If you don't tell me you want to be on it, I will not put you on it. So there's 5 people said, how come I don't get the email? Things like, because you're not on the email list. What do I do to get on it? Give me your email, but they don't. Anyway, there's a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. Even though you may know that. And the giveaway is my favorite thing to do. You can view where you're sick, you want to see what's going on, you can turn to this place and go, still ugly. And I see you live, you know you're going to be in here and go to me. Why would we want to watch you? You're my brother, I've seen your butt. Anyway, family and friends can see you live or later on, and if you want to see so-and-so's poem again, you like that poem, you say, I like that poem. You can go and see it again just in case you want to see how really good it is, or the opposite, but who'd want to do that? Anyway, you want to do a self-critique? No problem. And it's a way to put your word, our word, their word, any word, the word out. We have an ongoing theme. Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, is the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead. And if you don't believe that, you have to remember that, you know, Christ had like 12 apostles, and Hitler was a minor member of a tiny fragmented party of only 30 members when he joined. So, you know. Yeah. So, big things, small packages. Do the best you can. The first show, the keynote is, let me just get this here. I know it's you, but I gotta say it the right way. The pen's gonna roll off the table. Okay, so for the first show, Tommy Abacola-Mecca, where is he? Where is he? Raving hand right there. He's gonna be kicking off with the keynote. He does come back in the open mic. The keynote always does that. The feature is E.K. Keith, who is, like I said, not in the house, but she will be. And usually she'd be going like this, but she's not here to go like this, so I'll go like this. You tired yet? I'm tired yet. The second show, the last word is Jacob Sandiego. Is he here right now? Okay. Well, when he shows up, he kicks off the second half and ends it. And the mini feature is the wonderful and magical David Erdreich, who is also not here at the moment, so we have a little bit of gaps. But we can handle that. I've handled that before, just like the Rhino back in the Tanganyika days. Anyway, be advised, although we record the evening, if an audience member wishes to do so, please ask for permission from the poet. We assume you have done that, should we notice recordings being made. So those are the checklists. Now for the fabulous door prizes. I'll pass this to her here.
With healing the simpering sick, with having to hold serene smiles for breast-beating buffoons. Had it with the boredom of enforced virginity, with playing second fiddle to her self-defeating son, with 20 centuries of meaningless novenas praising her subservience. She's worn too long the heavy halo of the uncomplaining, unpaid live-in maid. So she begins to bleed, not from driven nails or thorny crowns, not out of guilt, not to atone for any actions not her own, not as some mythic man-made martyr. She bleeds as a woman. The sad blue gown, for centuries her prison, soon is soaked through with deep red. The flow held back for all her unlived lifetimes pools around her proud bare feet. Her breasts, too, swell with sudden fullness, nipples hard and heady with fresh milk. But this time, there's no baby boy to suck her wellsprings dry. This time, the surge is pure pleasure. Now, the chapel air is wet with womanhood, its smell more rich and powerful than any priest's pathetic little censer. The worshipers are terrified, but can't avert their eyes. Her smile, no longer trite, is now triumphant. The next time she appears to children, she will bring a message on her own behalf, a truer testament. I will end with a poem by Essex Hemphill, who was a black gay poet, also part of our circle of folks, and he also is unfortunately not with us anymore. This is called Black Beans, and it's also among my favorites of his, although every one of his poems is among my favorites. Times are leaves, caviar. Thank you.
Beautiful. I'm handing you the attribution sheet, so if you read a poem by somebody else, I can take care of that. Thank you. And now, who is the first person up?
Brett.
Brett. Give a round of applause, please. He comes up here. For crying out loud, you know.
Are you just assuming I'm Irish?
No, well, never mind.
Dan, you're right. It's cool, bro. Yeah. Okay. First one is untitled. Some days are more challenging than others, yet each day we are alive is a gift. How many persons did not wake this morning? How many did? I believe it was a Buddhist philosopher of some sorts, or a phrase from a monk, where the wisdom said the following: as I rise out of bed, the first thing I do is say thank you for being alive once again. And though the day may prove challenging and beat me down into the ground, this is a truth I try to embrace. Why? For the simple reason that any moment could potentially be my last. So I have gratitude, and I am here. We are here. Thereafter, as Benjamin Button said, we can either make the best of it or the worst of it. I hope you make the best of it. Yes, this does help. Make the best of any situation. Try everything.
There you go.
There was a fire in their voice. They wanted truth. All I could give them was my subjective perspective. They wanted answers, and I said, I'm just standing here talking to you about theories. Another adventure in AP government class where they wanted to know what was going on in our society, and I looked at them and said, meh. Is this supposed to be a democracy, but when people aren't seen as humans, it's not. I questioned everything I believed in the last 2 years. I came to them and said, here are some definitions I know, but here are some other things that we might need to work on if you want this thing called a republic to work. So what can I tell you that I know? I know that time management is worth your time. I know that You will find friends wherever you go if you go with an open heart. And I know that as hard as it may be, learning that love never fails. Love other people, let yourself be loved, and if you aren't capable of love, don't be too hard on yourself. It's okay to ask why. The best thing I could also tell them for some therapy, just from my point of view, go to the ocean. Go park the car, go walk down, smell the salt, feel the breeze on your cheek. If you're in the East Bay, go up into the hills of Oakland, go into the forest, listen to the birds, watch the wind go through the trees. At some point, if you can't find inner peace, come talk to me some more. I would love to help you walk down that path. You, my friend, though, you are the truth that you should seek. Thank you.
Benson.
And the next person is Owen. Oh no, Doodle Man.
Dudamon, then Owen.
Oh, Dudamon!
Dudamon. Bring him on up, give him a round, and then we got Owen, George, Buford, Sam, Aloysius Balthazar von Flohenheim, the Bergstag von Gabenhaben.
Cut that shit out, man. Make too much damn noise over there. What's wrong with you heathens? She rode a bicycle because of you. Because of you, her mommy and daddy. We have to go to San Jose, and it's a long ways from here. Because of you, her mommy and daddy bought her a bicycle. I tried to ride it, and I skidded my knee. The man tried to ride it, and he fell off and busted his head. Because of you, her mommy and daddy bought her a bicycle. You know what? That bicycle, what was that? She went fast. And you know what? The damn bicycle didn't have no wheels because of you. Oh, underwear man. Underwear man arrived in Berlin. He looked out over yonder and he said he shitted on himself. He went out and they were 4 million. When the London man got it to Nuremberg, he shitted again. When the underwear man got to Putty, he looked out over yonder and he shitted again. When the old man got to Lyon, they said they smelled him. He couldn't believe it. 4 million. When he got to London town, there was another 4 million. Underwear man beat Hillary Clinton. He looked out over yonder. When he won the president, he shitted again. When the underwear man went to inauguration, he looked out over yonder. He shitted again. When he became president, he says he don't shit like he used to. Underwear man said, what happened to the shit? They said, sir, it wears off. And underwear man, they told underwear man went to flush the toilet. They said, no, you cannot do it. Because you might give away some secrets. Underwear man looked young. He told the brazen one. The brazen one said, leave it. Don't blame no other but me. Then when it happened, don't you know, my whole family works for the government. And I'm a Republican. And underwear man said, don't blame no other but me. Washout Town became a wash basin. You can look, they had trash all in front of the black house, you see. But she rode a bicycle and it did not have any damn wheels because of you.
Give Owen a round as he come up, and then we have George. Where's George Lister? Is this this is not your first time? Okay, just to make sure. And then Buford Sam. This is your first time, right? Oh, thank you so much. So we got special something. Star by here. All right, give him a round of applause, please.
The night of the poem. Tonight is the night of the metaphors that are ghosts that have tried to be themselves. Sometimes the lines are too long to become a sonnet. Sometimes there is no imagination left on the face of the earth. When the lines, the metaphors are brilliant, they shine like rubies or emeralds on a woman's fingers. Or they are shy flowers that think they are not good enough to blow in the warm desert wind. Flowers like poems are quiet during the day, then shout aloud to the laughing night. Pace. The pace set on very busy Sansom Street, the pace kind of crazy, nothing very lazy. Good God help me to someday find myself, or maybe there's a person I thought I tried very hard to be, but could. Sonnets, February 14. Valentine's Day Ariviste. Years ago, I was beaten easy, but it seems as though no time has warped my metaphors. 40 years seems as though they were yesterday. I miss very dearly my mother and father. Time, it seems only yesterday, has made me its urchin orchid. Only approval can have any very real value to me. Only they could understand the way my life of brown study, from the beginning to the present day, has had from the outset its nowness and forgiveness. I still mourn and am. So cold the air. The day after the sunshine, so welcome after the mad stare of the bad rain. The roaring wind that came from somewhere around. December invited it to say something. It said to February, my feet will not always be there to stay on the ground. Wily water squirts out of a lukewarm day that has tried its joy. Conversation is like a bubbling cauldron of ooze. Conversation in the little cafe is like a bubbling cauldron of ooze. Life is like this, not like that. I am confused. Chances are, more confused than everyone else is. Sonnet 226:12. There is this day, this afternoon sun, the death of the imagination, no quiet all around me. Is the imagination the result of plenty of noise, more noise, the noise of the fire engines, sirens as painful to my ears as the sunburn is to my skin. Some people say that sound, the noise, maybe there is no fire at all, but some people like the sound. Some people like to go naked in the snow. the rain. Others like to listen to the sound of sirens as though they're listening to the sweet sounds that do not cease. A symphony by Beethoven, a concerto by Mozart. Vacuity. This day promises a trip to the morning, quiet as a closed door. Honesty makes the day longer. Deceit is rife in the verbal barrage of infamy and wonder. I wonder as I often do. I wonder what it is like to wander around the earth like a searching Daedalus. My mind wanders afar. My body stays put as though my legs were chained to a chair. My mind wanders longingly back to hot 29 Palms, to the hot desert, to the heat simmering, almost creating an image. Old timers have seen some. Saloons, naked girls, water buffaloes swaying to the rhythm of the hot heat.
Thank you, Mr. Owen.
Thank you very much.
George Lister, correct? Yeah. Give him a round as he comes up, and then we have Buford, you're after him, and then Sam, then Tommy comes back, and Alistair Crowley will be here also. Well, he doesn't think he's.
Yes, true. That's true.
Broken. My arm is a broken wing, like the bird who slammed into my window as I was reading Stephen King on my deck while the soft Vermont air gently touched my skin. We looked at each other, his eyes darting this way and that, legs splayed, one wing down, one up, trying to fly, anything to go, to leave, to soar back to heaven where he belongs. I'm the same kind of creature. My heaven is wet. I move through it like a bird soaring in the air. The water surrounds me, moves me forward like we were rushing downhill through the rapids, laughing, playing together, singing a roaring song and flying off to places unknown. As I reached to touch, the bird gathered himself and flew off, leaving me watching, wondering. I'm left behind as my water flies on without me. This is called Shadows and Light. Someday soon, when you're walking towards the light in the sky, watch your shadow. Swing your arms so they make arcs on the ground, helping point you where you go, where you wish to go, and waving to the places you've already been. It's always the same, moving along with you, not faster or slower. It seems to be watching you from its perch, first behind, then below, then in front of you. I sometimes wonder what the shadow sees from its place on the ground, or on the hill, or in the trees. As the day gets on, the shadow changes. As I head towards the big light in the sky, the shadow, along with everything else, gets longer and bigger. Now it won't catch up. The rule has changed, and it stays behind and fades into a space already traveled. Waiting for the next one, I wonder at the changes in the light, in the sky, in my soul. This is called The Traveler. It floated from the sky where it had been resting peacefully like another moon. I had seen it for weeks through the fog and haze of a wildfire summer. It was a messenger telling us to look up, to try to make sense of losing the stars and planets. I know they're still there because my mind's eye travels to the highest peaks, free from the breath of man. The sky sparkles like diamonds as I'm traveling through the Sierra, lying on the ground, covering myself with a blanket of twinkling lights. Perhaps when we make sense of the life of the earth, we will begin to care for her in a way that lets her breathe, that lets her see through a clear eye and return to her rightful place in the sisterhood of the sky. I can no longer hope, but must speak to take me to the day. I look on the beach where it has fallen, smaller and much heavier than I would imagine. wounded from its travels for the universe. The message is inside. When the time is right, it will open.
All right. Thank you, George. Buford. Then Sam is after Buford, just so we know what we're doing here. And then Tommy coming back because while he's doing that, I forgot to mention 5 prizes. There is the keynote. This is how you get to be the keynote. You stay at the end. You pick this card as a prize instead of one of the books. The last word, Jacob, that's Jacob's Endigo, the last word. He kicks in off the second half and ends it. So he picked this last week. Choosing the theme or prompt, which I forgot to mention, is live poetry. That's the theme of the E. To be here for some reason, you know. And then the mentors tonight is David E., who is not here yet, but I'm assuming that things are okay with him, even if he is not here, as is the teacher. Now, give him a round of applause. I'm sorry about all that. Laughing over uses.
This is called What Am I Going to Talk About? What am I going to talk about tonight? There's Trump. No. My Trump pieces have been overwritten. He's too easy to bash. Baseball? Probably not. I like baseball far too much. The anti-Trump. My life? Too personal. Other folks may not want me to mention them. How good Sacred Grounds poetry is? The best topic I can imagine. Dan Brady, the late Johanna Wedgwood, who of course Dan succeeded. The quality is Sacred Grounds poetry. And more, the poetry hour, as it says up there, or like 2.5 hours, is the greatest. All I have to do is come up with something sparkling. Not impossible, of course. Now, let me sharpen my mind to the task at hand. Almost too much, but here I go.
Buford, thank you. Sam Cooper. Now, Sam, he doesn't know this. I gave him a forewarning. But when you're here for the first time, we do a special form of welcoming, which is loud, noisy, and rude. So let's welcome up. Come on, let's say it up here. Is that sad? Is that? Just so you know, we welcome, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing?
Well, we're good.
All right.
I got changed underwear. What do you think I got about the underwear?
All right.
This first one is a recipe for happiness, and as such, it's untested. Ecstatic peace breeze beneath electric blanket sky, blank time canvas of spontaneous journey, smoke surreal poetry together, breathe Herculean understanding, raw observant presence, fresh, never frozen. Drink visionary language, splatter quick dark truth, foolish sanguine possibility, garnish with vulnerability. Cry brilliant pain, nefarious absurd water, saline sadness juice of joy. Butcher and cut away unwelcome mental word compositions, tenderize cardiac emotion, saute exuberant laughter on high for 20 minutes, or as long as it will last. Sprinkle seasoned wisdom, cliche aphorisms are the spice of life. Preheat hotbox oven chamber to 420 degrees. Bake or get baked. Fuck it, order takeout.
Get baked.
This next one I wrote the other day at the beach. Fine-grained sandpaper slopes into saline fluid walls, polishing lives of unsuspecting primates who think they leave the mark. Impermanent, everlasting, ripple in unstill time water, undiscernibly extant. A child digs deep with tiny spade and infinite aspiration, energetically seeking something, nothing, doesn't know, doesn't care. His mother shakes her head, sighs, and returns to her book, knowing too much, caring too much. A couple strolls gleefully along the line between two states of matter, volatility and rigidity, blissfully oblivious to the knife's edge balance they represent to a watchful eye or a wide-angle lens. The sand-slope canvas of impermanence, dotted with tracks of man-pup or dog-child, soon to be washed away, pecked at by vulture crows searching for subterranean appetizer, before finding corpse to cannibalize, brutal, vulgar beauty of temporal circularity, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, bird to bird food. To return is inevitable, to revolve is revolutionary. I want to die like the bird that corpse belonged to. Sea breeze wind in my feather hair, laying down on that fine-grained sand, only to return to the sky. And this last one I had to write for a class. I had to write.
Oh my God.
I had to write a pantoum, which is a really repetitive form.
Yes.
So this is a protest poem. Let's protest the pantoum, this filthy fucking form. I'll get the torches and pitchforks. I've got nothing better to do. This filthy fucking form with its redundant repetition, like I've got nothing better to do than write what I've written. It's redundant repetition. What should I put here? I'll just write what I've written. This is impossible. What should I put here? I'll get the torches and pitchforks. This is impossible. Let's protest the pantoum.
Well done.
Tommy.
I'm here to go to make a. So you'll notice that he was the keynote. The keynote always does somebody else's poem, and then he comes back, or she, whoever that might be, comes back.
Either
and,
one.
You know. Anyway, he's back. Give him a round. Did you get a round of applause? There we go. Thank you so much. Pardon my error.
Fellow evangelist,
Oh yeah.
don't you sleep better at night
Hallelujah.
knowing that here in South Carolina, Miracle Hills Ministry is protecting your religious freedom,
Yeah.
barring queers, Jews, Muslims, and non-Christians from adopting kids.
Damn right.
Consistent with our mission,
Mission.
we only hire Christians who agree with our policies, never Catholics.
Oh Jesus.
Thank the Lord and Donald Trump. We've been granted an exemption so we can continue receiving federal funds to keep children out of the hands God has deemed unfit to raise them.
Praise Donald. Praise Donald.
As for the kids who think they're gay and say they want a supportive environment, we can assure them that living in a nice Christian home will make them see the error of their ways and help them suppress their unnatural tendencies as the good Lord and the Vice President intend.
Yeah. Hallelujah. My iron lung is working again. I believe.
Okay, so this is the 50th anniversary this year of Stonewall, which was the riot at the gay bar in the West Village that gave birth to the modern gay liberation movement. So I've been doing a lot of reflection on that, what all that means. And this first poem is a little reflection on what happened after Stonewall. And the poem after that is a poem about what I was doing in June of '69 when Stonewall happened, and I wasn't there, unfortunately. So this is after Stonewall. Limp wrist turned into a fist. Nellie Queen into a ninja queen. The love that dare not speak its name could not stop talking. Untold numbers of closet doors were kicked open. Unmarried aunt sported a sweatshirt with interlocking women's symbols. Mothers were no longer blamed for gay sons. Aversion therapy hitched a ride back to the Middle Ages. The plays of Tennessee Williams suddenly made more sense. Everyone knew what an earring in a man's right ear meant. Gay men became a straight girl's best friend. Cops worried that their days of extorting payoffs from gay bars were coming to an end. An out gay man got elected to office and then murdered. Happy wasn't the only definition of gay. 69 was the anniversary of a riot. And I'm going to end, well, this is a poem about where I was at the same time that all that was happening. I raced from your front door past the old thick trunk trees that reached up beyond the rooftops. The old brick front row houses with the marble steps the women kept meticulously clean. The black iron rails the old people held onto as they slowly climbed them. The warm pavement underfoot, the hot June night, stringing sweat beads on my forehead. I was out of breath, damn asthma. But trying to drown out your words echoing in my finally stopped. My aching lungs huffing and puffing like the big bad wolf. You told me you couldn't see me again. Shut the door in my face. All those nights, homework was the last thing on our minds as we sat in your room, our hands always straying from notebooks and textbooks. Even our lips wouldn't behave. We planned to go to college, share a room, our lives. It was our little secret. You got scared. Someone must have said something to you about how strange it was that we were inseparable, never dated girls. You told me you wanted to be left alone. The night closed in. Nothing mattered anymore. I finally went home, opened the medicine cabinet, stood there for a long time with a blade in my hand. I would start college in the fall, never see you again. Now, for some reason, all these years later, I'm thinking of you as I do from time to time. I don't want to look you up, find you. Let the past stay where it is, rattling in my mind, a noisy tenant, a petulant child, a sweet herbal tea, a fetal position, a dream shot full of holes and left in the sun to dry and evaporate like you never will. Thank you.
And we have a gold Mecca.
Richard, my goodness.
Richard?
Yeah.
Richard, this is your first time here, right?
Yeah.
This is his first time, ladies and gentlemen. Give him the dream and welcome up, Richard! Okay, this is Richard, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Richard!
You gotta raise this up a little bit. Hold on a second.
Look at it, see if that's good.
That's perfect.
Okay. Get up there. Our stage manager is no longer here. He's maybe on the see. And that's me.
How do I follow that? How do I follow Tommy up? Wow.
Well, everybody follows him. You know, we all follow him. He follows us. We're he's a sharing kind of guy.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm kind of a quiet dude. But I'll
Just
try
get
my-
close to the mic then.
All right, is this better? Quiet.
There we go.
not
Yeah.
distracted? All right.
Very good.
This one's called "A Letter to My Wife," and here we go. In silence, you notice exists intervals of breath, monkish hymns, nothingness echoing into nothingness. And as you try to sleep, all that you can think of is a family Bible, the black leather cover, its gold embossment, a glimmer of light in a midnight room. You'll reach out and run fingers over it, as if touch is the first real step, to making its language real. It's just paper, you say. Like the Revolutionary Road is dirt and dead men. You want to find some magic. All yours is spun into the daily miracles, food on the table, car notes, child's dance classes and gymnastics. Nothing is left for the aching muscles of your chest. Nothing begetting nothing. Thank you.
Well done. Nicely read.
And then there's one more that I thought I would share. Sorry, I should have prepared this a little bit better. So I'm an English professor part-time, which means I'm poor and frustrated. And usually with my students. And so I wrote this in response to conversations we had, a discourse we had about gun control and gun violence. So here we go. It doesn't have a title. Don't lie about the bent finger, the palm gripped around steel, nor the thin yellow fluid that the body excretes when a rock plunges into a man, explodes inside him like society sees. Neither should your mouth fire off, dispense nothing. You are white in a sea of ice. You can only understand concrete and not the grass beneath the bloodied hoodie, both brown and foreign, and beyond your view. Lower your head and let silence continue your work, and be merry. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Richard, AJ?
It's right here.
That's me. Thank you.
I don't know.
And this is your first time, second time. Okay. Well, give him a round of applause. Welcome. Keep it warm. Keep the mic going. I'm next after this guy, so be prepared.
I don't know if
I'm not.
I don't know if Plan A is gonna. It might be an easy act to follow. I don't know if Plan A is gonna come through. I've got it's like a 2-minute jingle I'm trying to work with.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's gonna. If my speakers solid enough. I'm gonna do it quick. Okay. I think we're gonna. It's a little jingle. I've interlaced a original poem of my own with. So, and I haven't really rehearsed it, so you probably can see me slip a little. It should be really fun. So here we go.
All right.
We're working mostly with the chromatic scale from A to G, but I'm focusing on C. So once again, slivery. Here we go. We's a jolly good fellow. We's a jolly good fellow. We's a jolly good fellow. Nobody can deny. Nobody can deny. We's a jolly good fellow. Nobody can deny. Nobody am I. Currently heating it up. It bounced back just a little abrupt. You're just like me. You're living to die. Open your eyes. Let them all cry. Let the tears dry. Say hello. Say goodbye. New bird rising just to get shot down. Flying and falling. We remember the call. Fell to succeed as new short to tall. Smiles are different now as you all frown because we's a jolly good fellow. Nobody can deny. Nobody can deny. We's a jolly. Nobody am I. Currently heating it up. It battled back just a little abrupt. You're just like me. You're living to die. Open your eyes. Let them all cry. Let the tears dry. Say hello. Say goodbye. New birds rising just to get shot down. Flying and falling. We remember the call. Felt to succeed is the new short to tall. Smiles are different now as you all frown. We's a jolly good fellow. We's a jolly good fellow. We's a jolly good fellow. Nobody can deny. Nobody can deny. Nobody can deny. We's a jolly good fellow. Nobody can deny. Nobody am I. Nobody am I. That's it right there.
AJ. That's me, fun thing and marking. Hold on. Okay, just
Fun finger.
Fun finger, that's me. So you want to just make sure I'm on this so I can...
Well, before I get started, I would like to officially welcome the feature of the evening, E.K. Keith, if you'll kindly give a waving hand. This is the feature here. This is why you're... And then I didn't give Mr. Sandiego his due. He's in here. Give him he's the second half. He kicks it off. Thank you so much.
Hi,
I had one of those days that if you had two of them in a row, you'd think, I'm out of here. Hope tomorrow will be better. All right, so, 3 short ones here. Am I okay on this? From Kabir to Kabir and everything in between. Oh, my friends, my heart, it's on fire with a happiness so very, very great. It's each and every fiber is vibrant, gloriously radiant, dazzling, and so we are buoyed by such joy as is never found by the possession of common treasure, wants, or passions. The precious heart is never beguiled by such trinkets, nor can its love be overthrown. It knows what all beggars do. If you make a life with your own handiwork, then, wherever you go, even in common attire with simple shoes, you'll have your arts to proffer, and so will you please exceedingly well those whom you find along the way, and in so doing also find your estate in being yourself whenever, wherever. Then, just as simple folk do, it leaves life to being, whereby one may then live with easy grace from moment to eternity. After all, life's meaning comes from giving it meaning. We all know the body becomes dust, that vanity is at best temporal. Why then wish for, hope for fear of what was or may yet be? Dwell then in the vast, intimate immediacy of love, and so be contented with yourself as you are, as it is. One thing more. As contented as you may be in this manner, even then still listen as if a saintly chorale were to sound at any moment, and know you will meet the divine at any moment. And this takes me back to the streets of New York City. Diamond. The old manhole cover was home base because it never moved. Now, most days, first base was the driver's side rear door of Mr. Donovan's blue and white 55 Buick. Of course, second changed up a lot. Sometimes it was chalk drawn squares when we had a chalk. Once for a whole season, it was a ruined blue and white washcloth. However, most often it was a random piece of cardboard which we'd sprinkle with water and stomp down into place. Usually, by the top of the third, it was definitely fixed, which was good. Third, well, we'd make do with the shoe-sized pothole because it was also dependable, unless Dombrowski's dad has parked his green 4-door Rambler too far from the curb again. Then we'd be forced to use the driver's side back door. Of course, no one would dare touch it, and you couldn't throw to third in that case unless you wanted some hell to pay if the ball so even much as harmlessly bounced off that car. The teams were as even as we could make them. After all, what was the fun of a blowout? There'd be no arguing, hoopla, close calls, or tight situations. We kept track of the innings, the score, and chance was our umpire. All disputes not won by a claim or out-blabbing by the dozens were then settled by shooting odds and evens or flipping a fair coin for takeovers. We had ways and means. We had fun. This was our street as Diamond. Okay, maybe I shouldn't do that one. I was going to do, but it's too long. So, I want to get something here. La 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 la. Hurry. Nope. Sorry about this.
Is that a computer?
No, yeah. Okay, so Trump was Trump was mentioned, and some time ago there was a name-calling contest which originated in Scotland, made its way to England, and found its way to my sister's email box, and she sent it on to me. She added a few, as did I, and this then is the list. They're not rated, actually. Now, you remember this is from Scotland and England, so they have these weird words here. He is a clay-brained, gutless, naughty-pated fool. An obscene, greasy, tallow-faced son of a whore. Bipedal wank splatter. Blinkered but rageous bumblebum. Bloviating flesh bag. Bobble-throated slapdick. Bolting hutch of beastliness, that was Scottish. Chinless dildo. Chimp-flavored anus drizzle. Clueless numpty. My favorite, one of them, cock womble. Or a cock-juggling thunderbutt. Fart-snarfing bimbo pimp. Fat-fucking slag heap. My favorite, from my sister, fuckface von clownstick. That's not hers, but she loved it so much. Gobshite. Incompressible jizz trumpet. Knuckle-brained fart lozenge. Leather-faced piss jar. Ludicrous tangerine ball sack. This is one of mine. Snot-gobbling, bobble-headed gutter snipe. From England, mangled apricot hell beast. From Scotland, oozing butt plug. From New York, piss-soaked raccoon wig. From someplace in Texas, sentient enema. And one of mine again, shit stick McFucker lips. I just had to put that in there. Or from, this is from actually Northern California, slippery addle-pated flip dick. And then blathering idiotic gibber bitch. Tiny-fingered, Cheeto-faced, ferret-wearing shit gibbon, with apologies to shit gibbons. Two-paid fuck trumpet. Utter twonk, that was very polite. Witless fucking cock splat. Weasel-headed fuck nugget. And the final entry here, Eastern slack-jawed, slow-eyed shit gibbon. Thank you.
With apologies to gibbons of all kinds.
Cursive writer.
Cursive writer.
Why was everybody so nice to you?
I don't know. And then after this, man, we have my introduction to the famed E.K. Keith, who is in the house wondering why in God's name did I come here. Is that good?
Probably so. I am bereft of a musician. Any musicians out there?
Well, I have my harmonica with me.
No, thanks.
I do have my harmonica.
I love you, man. I love
Thank you, I know.
I do. All right, The Miracle Did Not Come. This is an older piece because I needed to find a shorter piece. And then I'll read my new one. The miracle did not come. Sitting as the great Buddha, he waits for questions that never asked, like waiting for a miracle that never comes. The world shifts, not a miracle, more like an itch twitch, a way of getting rid of things no longer useful, trustful. Hear it? It comes like a percussion instrument running, catching up to the beat, grabs on for ride. Two-legged tries to catch up, but still too dull a mind, caught up in their obsessions. It is the miracle never heard. See it? It comes like a metaphor stomped to death at midnight, no scream perceived, as meteor streaks across the sky never heard. Rebirth by terraforming these travelers of chaos. When asked how's it going, are told it just left. It is a miracle never seen. Feel it? Like do we ever until it's too late? It is a miracle never felt. These are questions this sitting Buddha is ready to answer, never asked. It is the miracle never perceived, still waiting as if miracles exist, but in the mind. Waiting? Godot? No, miracle. Children taken. Children taken from mothers, fathers, screams, squeals, yowls, fighting to regain mother's hold. Mama, daddy screams from children crying, bereft alone. Money to be made from these separations, this tragedy. Trauma felt the rest of this child's life while others never come home. Those separations made off these horrors. While this artificial line called a border, the ugliest of the uglies, is occurring, reoccurring. The first is the rape of the native nations of Turtle Island, of everything including stealing, scalping each child for $15, or boarding schools where many were raped, sodomized, brutalized, punishing for speaking their language, or killed. There maybe have been some, but don't believe Usan citizens rose up against this. They point to the natives' violence against them, trying to protect their nations against the genociders, the Usans. The second is the kidnapping, rape, enslavement of the blacks to this day. Starting in Africa, brought to slave markets, families torn asunder, never to find each other. More trauma, past, freed only to be terrorized again, adding to today's new forms of terror, tearing apart mother from child. There are some in solidarity, but most do not. Begets until the perpetrators forget. All is well in the world for them. The third is the kidnapping, torture, fear at detention centers at the southern border, where people are shocked that USA would do this, forgetting or never knowing our own history of torment, misery, wretchedness. Detention centers just cargo. Little Dick Cheney, known as Little Dick, how much paid off human abuse. There will be children never sent back to their they will be. Don't forget USA's war. All for power, resources, and tearing apart of families in genocidal wars, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents, elders, kids, are never to be seen.
And am I all right in the frame there? Well, it is that time that I get to boast and brag upon someone before their very eyes. And no one better than E.K. Keith to do that with, because she's heard it all before. People have boasted and bragged about this person and said, what a great poet you are, what a wonderful poet you are. I can't believe I heard that. Her poetry is absolutely stellar. It's wonderful. I'm going to read two short poems, but this is her very new book. Ordinary Villains. You have some of these with you? She has some of them. And this is mine, so you can't take this one. But just to give you a sample, now I'm not her, you'll notice, right? But I'm going to read these two. Actually, there were a bunch in here, but you know, I'm not going to be. If I did what I wanted to do, she'd say, well, thank you for my reading. Okay. This is Junkie Uncle. My junkie uncle was an artist whose work never went anywhere. So he lives with my grandmother, and my aunts take care of them both. They don't get along, my aunts, so they arrive on different days to cook and clean, so my junkie uncle and my grandmother can eat and watch TV. He occasionally disappears. And my aunts arrive, crossing days, crossing each other, crossing words, martyrs on the holy cross of family responsibility. They poke old wounds until everyone's hands bleed and still doubt that anyone's wounds exist except their own. I walk past junkies on the street. Their sisters and mothers are cooking and cleaning and eating and watching TV. They argue whose fault and who's to blame, and worry that this is the last time the family junkie will disappear. And this one, I loved it so. Advice. When a man tells you you are beautiful, don't believe him so much. His eyes are your only mirror. First, his eyes lie about the perfect clarity of your skin in the morning, the smooth curve of your lip, the dip of your navel, the hollow between your breasts where the memory of a kiss still lingers. Then, when he hurts you, his eyes lie about the scars and blackheads on your face, your fat, pimpled ass, your big belly, your droopy, lopsided boobs. After he hurts you, you will stand alone in the bathroom, brushing your teeth. The toothpaste speckled mirror will crack in your eyes. Don't lose your beauty in a man's eyes. Keep it for yourself. E.K. Keith, ladies and gentlemen. I had to do that. I've never done that before, but she's very patient and kind.
Give her a nice one. Come on, let's keep it up there. Woo! And Homes Under the Dome. This is the person that's responsible for that and more.
Thanks, Dan.
I forgot to say that.
That's okay.
All right. But I did say it after.
It's true. Well, Poems Under the Dome is coming up again.
Yes.
On April 18th. It's a Thursday night from 5:30 to 8, at City Hall, the big white building downtown.
With the dome.
And it's free.
Free.
So, one of the things that I've really enjoyed about publishing my book, Ordinary Villains, is just what happened here, is people reading my own poems back to me. It's really a tremendous honor, and I thank you for that.
I'm going to raise this up a tiny there.
Okay.
There you go.
Thanks, Dan.
All right.
Yeah, so I have a set here for you, and there's some stuff from the book, and there's some new stuff, and this one's about my sweetheart, and it's a vocabulary poem, so enjoy. Haru Specs. I like our quiet evenings. You read me the headlines while I read or write or get ready to teach. I always insist on the source of information, especially when I'm inclined to believe. And you go digging through the guts of the internet, a soothsayer, not looking for the future, but the truth.
Nice.
Lest you think my relationship is too serious. This is called Dumpster Dive. Do you want to go dumpster dive the corner store? In my mind's eye, I see ripe produce riddled with tiny spiral trails of radioactive isotopes. I say, I admire your urban survival skills, but you've been freaking out about plutonium all day, and now you want to rescue food that's been overexposed? Well, I guess that's true, he says. At least we won't have to worry about botulism or salmonella. from Houston, Texas.
Houston.
Yes, and so this is called The Astrodome Has Its Own Weather. No one escapes Texas stereotypes. People always interrogate my lack of hick accent, backward politics, and family ranch, but they never ask me about baseball. It's not in the stereotypes DNA, like boots or barbecue. The Astros are our team. Dad liked to sit in the bleachers, the cheap seats, way out in left field, or in the gray layer of the Astrodome, where nobody liked to sit, halfway up the orange rainbow. The eighth wonder still wears an internal jersey, layer by layer, stadium seats monochromed to match the home team, except the gray layer. Tickets there were cheap or free for school groups or scouts and such, because its failure to orange dampens your feelings about whatever you're witnessing. In the gray layer, a grand slam home run earns some applause. And it occurs to you that there won't be a line for the bathroom right now, as the pigeons and the grackles swirl, disturbing the wispy clouds that always form at the top, just before it rains inside the dome. It's really true. It really did rain in there.
I remember that. I remember hearing about that.
I got a lot of love poems for y'all tonight.
Good.
I know.
Woohoo!
Love, love.
Yeah. After a summer spent apart. The refrigerator rosé is past its prime, but it's okay. We drink it anyway. We're used to California wine, and this is French, so we pretend it tastes like it should. We sit between tart kisses. I missed you, and I'm so glad you're home.
Nice.
And as y'all know, as poets, we are not beholden to the news cycle.
The what?
The news cycle. That horrible concept that makes us believe things are over when they're really not. California, November 2018. My tea's gone cold in a red cup whose mouth is a little too wide. But I'll drink it anyway, because I'm still trying to focus on gratitude, even though Thanksgiving's just passed, just a few days ago, and my back is still complaining about the long drive to Arizona, the side trip to LA, the traffic on the 5. I'm still mouthing off about my sweetheart's stepmother. My feeling about her went cold some time ago. And even though we listened to every radio station between LA and San Francisco, we didn't hear the news. So I found out at school Monday morning that we're tear gassing refugees as a response for their desire for asylum. But that shouldn't surprise me. Nothing really should. Because I heard on the radio tonight that Walmart threatened to evict the campfire refugees who are staying in the parking lot and harassing them with hired thugs disguised as security guards. So I'll be grateful for what I have and finish this cold tea. And here's one of the hot topics of our day. Daylight savings time. Because it was such a beautiful day, I took a walk on the sunny side of the street. I can't explain why the city air felt so fresh, and the clouds I'd been carrying all day, dark and heavy from reading the news, the petty frustrations of work, all my little aches and pains, they all went away. And I looked up at the city hawk in a lazy spin, and my skin soaked the sun in. April is too real. How did the days get so long, so fast? This is a mass delusion of control. All of us pretending that resetting our clocks makes us powerful, like gods, willing the sun to shine just a little longer because it was such a beautiful day. And we'd be fools not to after such a winter. And I think I'm gonna finish up here with another love poem. It's about everyone's favorite kind of love. Narcissism. The shadow of the Lorax plays on the walls of Plato's cave where Christ was buried, and on the third day Sisyphus rolled the rock away and invented religion to fuel old feuds with folks who might yet be friends. The world is small and getting smaller, an unlikely oasis in space. I am you. All the myths are true. And of course, we see ourselves in every drop of water. It is us. Thank you so much. Oh, some of those were from the book.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Just a warning.
This
the
is
print-
EKG,
the
ladies and
print's a little
gentlemen.
small. Thanks, y'all, for listening. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to take a brief break. See her about the books. We have a great second half. We got so many people. It's going to be a wonderful second half show. Can I have that for a second?
I'm going to just go through the names. I'm going to
Read the riot act here. We have Jacob Sandigo kicking us off, Allie Rigby, Bob Gordon, Melissa Mello, who's here from a long time ago. We haven't seen her in a while. The Clyde Always Show. Sharon Scott Kish taking us back to Kansas City. Lee Morris with The Voice, as we call it. Hal Robbins, Ira Beyer, I think is new. Peter Chrysler, Garrett Murphy, Bill Mercer, and Jacob closing us out. Oh, we have Alan Harris also. So Alan Harris is in the house. We got a lot of stuff up here, so enjoy the break. This thing will be running, but it'll be pointing towards the poetry wall. So 5 or 7 minutes, we'll be back. Thank you very much.
There we go.
Time to do anything, that's fine. Would you?
Richard. What do you teach, Richard?
Right now, nowhere. I just put on the job stand.
Well, wait a minute, you got my phone? You got my phone? I'm not there. You're amazing.
So,
Since it sounds old,
Yeah, it's funny. My team actually at Fresno City moved up here. And I called her because I called her.
Oh, and if you haven't signed the card for Mr. Natural, I got the second card here, so in pens. just come on up and give him a good well wish, because you know he deserves some kind of consideration here. He's one of our favorite people. He helps us out in many ways.
You noticed it too. Oh my God, dude. I was going to try to change my so I'm not losing any more.
Okay, I didn't do anything.
I mean, that's why I came out here in the first place.
Spalding was the gold standard. We didn't have that. We don't need to think. Something that was gold.
I mean, other than the usual post
Like my favorite one is the one with Brady.
yeah, I like. These were super affordable for nice pen.
Yeah, those are not bad at all.
Like, they're the only nice pen I can afford. I also bring them to work.
Yeah. Hang on, my friend. I may have to go buy another glass of wine. Oh no. I will have to buy another glass of wine. Or wait.
That actually, it's fine. Sam's a nice guy, and
Hang on.
he mentioned he wanted a book, so I'll offer it. I'll just give you another $10 and I'll buy him his copy. They're not charity amongst poets. Where is their charity? So I'll let him get his copy. Hey, great work up there, by the way. And I wish you a lot. We'll to each other again, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I'm gonna try to change my work availability so I can put it in some. But probably not next week because of the suspicious.
Yeah, you don't want to keep.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday you've
I
done
got sick with a headache last week, but Wednesdays.
Technically, I think the next one's on Thursday, so it might work out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. It was always strictly.
Like for instance,
Oh, okay. So yeah. Double check because I have no idea. Just the boring. After Richard Gere, my mom had a crush on and decided to.
That's so awesome. Yeah, and if you like, you can exchange contact information. And I can email you.
He's lost his identity.
What is that? It's so big. 47 years this year, and it's a celebration of poetry month at City Hall. So anyone can come with the name. Dan has been doing it with me the whole time. He's often been in charge of the lottery. We draw the names at the front of the room. So like, you put your name in the hat. We draw names. People come up. One quote max exceeds 3 minutes. When people go short, but we leave room for those 3 minutes.
I always have poems that I intend to be like a couple minutes and then I get anxious and very fast.
I'm always in awe of no other poetry on
Oh, yeah.
I'm always in awe. I get up. I do stand-up comedy, but whenever it has to do with poetry, I get up there and I like.
I did stand-up for like a year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is weird that I started to do something.
Basically, like, comedy, I'm good. I know, wow, I think for poetry, I don't know.
What kind of things
I did that purposely. It's more like narrative.
I used to do one-liners, but I don't
like Hedberg? You know Mitch Hedberg?
Like Mitch Hedberg, but also I was younger. That's kind of why I stopped.
In all I'll write down my email address. They're $15. No, but we should refresh our contact information, like right in the city. What's happening? Yeah, I'm gonna be here for sure till I retire. Okay, cool. Yes, I would love that. Where are you when you're not here for 3 years?
I'm in Potrero.
No, I mean,
Wait, where am I going?
yeah.
I'm in my mom lives there.
That's kind of cool. There's a good one.
Yeah, pretty honestly, you walked into there.
I'll ask him.
But you're near the end. In fact, you're almost. This is for a well card for Mr. Natural. He's better now, but we're sending it anyway because he didn't have a chance to do it last week because I thought he was going to be here last week. So I goofed that up in my own way.
How is it possible for someone named Mr. Natural to get sick?
You know, you'll have to ask, why don't you put that as a question?
Yeah. You think you mind if I ask that question?
You know, he has a good sense of humor. But you never can tell, you know, you don't want to do anything that is untoward, as they used to say in the old days. Untoward.
But he's okay now?
Yeah, he brought this in, and he seemed a little bit, you know, kind of like, you know, not his usual chipper self, but, you know, he was here and set it all up, and he seems like he feels much better. So I'm glad that he is in that state because I got worried I couldn't get a hold of him. Hello. You mind if I give them away next week? Is that okay? Okay, good, because I got a lot here. All right. Thank you. This is great. I get to read them before I put out newer editions of these. Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Wow, there's one.
But this, I have that book from years ago. It's really pretty. It's simple, small, you know, but it's cool the way he writes. And
Oh, an actual 2019.
Yeah, that's a 2019 calendar brought by this young individual. She likes it. Huh? Young dude. Who's this thing? I gotta get my meat. And it's also where all the old clips are located.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be getting ready to get started in a moment. I'm going to go out and find the kicker off of... Oh, here he comes. Ladies and gentlemen, second half, second show.
Jacob Zandigo kicks it off and closes it out, so give him a round as he comes up here and wows us.
Wowzers.
Thank you for what you do, sir. I'll be back. All right. There he is.
Hello, folks. Hope everyone's doing good tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Love your mic.
Oh,
All right.
Talk to it.
Cool. All right, this first poem. Sorry.
Yeah, that's not really cool.
This first poem is called "Remove My Heart Racing" and Babylon is Fine. Or Babylon is Fine. Go ahead and call these hours daytime. We will rip the light off the walls. Boosters sing the blues. 10 feet from the escalator. I clap for her set with yellow teeth. The first 50 hours of resurrection are beautiful, says the man holding the door. I give him $1. 50 for me, 50 for her. Mention seasons to the three of us if you want to see us. If you want to see dragons laugh. And that was by Tongo Isaac Martin. And his words have been sent heavy with me lately, so I just wanted to thank him and read that. If you haven't got his book, you should, because you're doing a disservice if you haven't read it. All right, so this poem I wrote is called "Shakespeare in the Park." 70s TV left as gift for Wednesday's waste management. Contain brainwaves left for scrap. Tune out, drop in, pick up sanity. The revolution will not be televised. Let the cells of egotism fall out of skull. Rats are sure to nibble you to bits. House set aflame in the mission. Firemen call in sick. Winos throw up the remainders of their personality. Ghosts of saints thumb lighters and warm their pipes in preparation for their meeting with God. I don't mean to boast, but I've survived 3 overdoses, says an alley cat. Parking meter threatens to suspend me indefinitely. I kick the meter, out flies monarchs in search of survival. We kill our darlings and wonder what happened to love. My local drug dealer is dressed in all black. He throws a Gucci bag over his shoulder. What up, Shakespeare? He extends his fist for greeting. Hell is empty, and all the devils are here, an Alioto. I ask him if he's doing anything for the MLK weekend. 3-day weekend? Man, I don't have one of them day jobs. Besides, every day should be Martin's Day. I was still like the last part of that. I just couldn't find it. Oh, here we go. Okay, are you going to any parties? He laughs between old English sips. My whole life is a party, brother. He hands me his roach and walks away. We welcome death's advances, celebrate our rotting livers and our charcoal lungs. In the park I hear poetics, reality condensed to sentences or phrases. Drugs, beer, food, in no particular order. That's my monthly expense report. Last part of this one. The skyline becomes artificial. Pigeons frown. Cars accelerate whenever I cross the street. Expect to be reduced to a roadside attraction at any moment, but the cars drift through me. I become a street lamp. Flickering fear, miswired connection. I illuminate sin. White-collar conservatives flashing down the street, pointing their plaster fingers at me. No, San Francisco, I can't be bought. Go ahead, Mr. Businessman, you can't dress like me. Run as fast as you can, gentrified man. Beware the force of my backhand. That was it. Thank you. I'm all the time, right?
Like really something small because yeah, you're close.
Okay.
All right.
I'll do this quick one. Alright. Death came knocking at my door. I need more. My souls are spent. Can you push more product? Or have you found yourself a crucifix and decided to repent? I thought you gave up hypocrisy on Lent. You say you hate me, but really I know what you meant. Experienced love lately? That's overrated, quite frankly. How can I ignore your block when people love to talk and get shot? I know he was just a boy, but my sight landed on his name. It's all Russian roulette, baby. Most of the time I just sit back and unwind. Most people have lost their mind. They react to stimuli and feed off their own lie and watch as you die. Recording it through a phone, cause who really wants to die alone? The human race is now one big clone. An eye for an eye, it was written in the holy book. People disagreeing everywhere you look. Well, only yesterday I saw somebody on the street that was really shook. Walking past, their feet are not meant to go. We've tainted the water, made it red, watching the river flow. Better off dead, eulogies better left unread. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jacob Cindy. We'll be back at the end closing us out. And then we have Bob, then Melissa, then the Claude Alves.
I was doing fine, and then I just got nervous. You know, there's been. Oh, thanks. Thanks. Okay. Okay. All right. I have written a couple poems inspired by time in Anza-Borrego Desert. If you've been down there, really beautiful, sweet spot. If you can, get down there in the wildflower season. It's mind-blowing. Unstuck. I've always been interested in the crumbling of utopias. They are a gooey cookie loved by too many children. Sticky chocolate in everyone's hands, like, I have to be careful. This crumbling makes me sad, so sad, tired, yeah. Sunset on Earth is a wisp. Maybe on other planets, sunset lasts longer. Not so fleeting, but I get it. There's nobody coming by. And it's a Friday night. My God, now there's a good idea. Solitude in the desert. I'm trying a new word. Unstuck. We don't know we are screwed until sand covers the truck bumper and the tires of the truck stop spinning. What to say? I'm a woman. We know how to. Homestead in the desert. These are all ones I haven't read, so it's for being a good audience. This one's called My Chap. Chaparral is my favorite environment, and I'm always told I have chapped lips, and so I like playing with this word. My chap. We were careful that night, not to steal glances, to dance in the ballroom, pressed close, ha, not to stumble into each other, ha, 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 crush dirty toes on the linoleum floor of the community dance hall. But we did great at dancing. People commented. And we were careful that day, not to pick unripe olives at Lloyd's farm. He said not to spill. Buckets did spill, like marbles, the olives tumbling down the chaparral. His fault, not mine. We ran and ran after them, slipping, sliding in poison oak, whoops, and ended in fretful kisses and Lloyd calling after us to finish the job. We sometimes would. How can someone appear 2 years later and ask for chapstick? I've always had chapped lips. Like, why not take everything then? My dry skin, chapped freckles, cowboy chap, chaparral, colored gray shadow, wannabe, good old chap from France, fancy chap, cheap chap. Fancy that. Oh, it's embarrassing. Really, one of his hands on my neck and I was gone. He was my God. For 2 days. We got the oak bad, really bad. Like, he could walk into my room, my life, and forget what he was looking for, me, and then just leave America. Duh, oops. I scratched, ouch, bubbled poison oak arms, making it worse, always making it worse, until one day I scratched it better. Chapstick, but really it still hurts, most in the sun, my toxicodendron, and the 2 nights he was almost mine. Time for one?
It has to be really short because,
Okay.
I mean, just.
It's not really short, so I'm going to call it at that. But
All right.
Yeah.
She'll be over there in a second. Thank you. Oh, one thing. God. All right, and then I'll zoom in on him.
Okay. This is 3 nervous people in a row. I got into Michael McClure with his large font print, and I started doing experimental poems, and these are three of the more accessible ones. Pharaoh lay dying, with eyes like cisterns, dreaming of the unknown western beauty, O equinox. How your straw bricks pile Godward, how your ruby streams star climb in the vacant night. My heart is a dam in the river rushing, virgins their elegant arms. Oh, complaining like Jew slave, the black palms, sly winks of eternity hanging. Ah, my dry knuckles carry gold. In the sighs inscriptions, marry where the roads can only regret me. Soul unto the rise, O Isis, soul unto the shaft of light imagine my sandy, my bones, crown of glory. That's Pharaoh lay dying. This is very hard to read. I'll try to do it justice. It's called Dreaming the Screen Pictures. The cat and the fiddle can never be the thing you want them to be, because for the fiddle, forget the cat, you also can or can't this musically, or straight new till the end, then come back again to the beginning, why not? The cat and the fiddle shine like axes in the wide white castle where the maids caught the fatal attraction. Going to, are we having funds yet while trying to e-hails reigned in the kingdom come high water or white water, or now 1967 Pentagon gone, while my man George is maybe Jeeves and maybe May too, petered out of the house, walking to nowhere, who knows where. Do you said the place where camels with snakes and whatnot, and the tigers and the whole fucking screaming. I thought, man, wishes come out. God carrying one time, so fucking God, if for you have gotten here to this plane from Cisco's cheap wine and those who've been here and are here, I am sometimes this place placemats the picture, but neighbor paints anything, so they do movies, hey, and then Robin goes and suicides to show what's happening. He can't say, and the whole world faggots pronto, too busy, straight punks calling faggot, and Negroes bad, and disability can't pay for, and AFDC, GASSAI, give the cat while you pick on me. So now the government ain't here, or is we do not know, nobody is born to have to do anything you must and dust like a regular Puerto Rican, yet use Mexicano mission fella, and what you do with that combo, sell it for $5.55 ink tax, or go ride in a car with a pink must ass and maybe get molested by the driver, and the cat say, who we, she got it, the car, and no cop shows, so I'll do that too. Then the parade marches on in June or March, and wow, great. So, and then you are famous like Brad Pitt and don't have no Jolie to be pictured with sneering at the camera, the camel, the cat, the tiger, the snake, excuse me, I meant the priest, and the altered altar boy taught to zip the lip on such insidiances. Say you always meant to, but the damned never got around to it. Sorry, now can we get back to the subject of the conversation? Was it Brad Pitt, snake eyes, or tigers, or what? And then the merry-go-round's been a long time, Bernie, she said on Orchard Street, but in hell did we get there? Son of a gun, there's no place like home Manhattan. I forgive Mayor Giuliani, he did such a good job. Lots don't like what they did to themselves. His fault, that lousy wop, and now it's time to say goodbye to all our company, MICKE, YMOUS, Mickey Mouse, forever let us hold our banner high on the network who can't remember, which on finally Buffalo Bob Smith announces the station and the commercial, and then mom turns off the TV, then go nighty-nighty. Any.
Oh, no, the time is up, dear. Yeah. Melissa Miller. Then Clive, then Sharon, then Lee, then Hal.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Melissa.
That's Melissa Mella.
Yeah.
Woo!
So on Friday, I will have been alcohol-free for 7 months.
Woo!
This is called Letter. Dear, I have become the bird washed up on Kehoe Beach, skin and feathers peeled away, invisibly unzipped from back of bone, skull exposed, and beak in sand. I am the fish prize frantically wiggling in an osprey's talons after a dive, or a driftwood bench long ago embedded deep in the California sand. You are the heedless riptide pulling everything back out to sea. Signed, Thinking of You. This is called The Echoing. 1. When I was a girl, my grandmother won the lottery. She took trips to Florida and brought me back gifts. A plastic toy alligator I played with in the bath, and a plastic baggie containing a starfish. The insert read, "Sea stars aren't really fish," and I dropped it, kicked it right under my bed, where my cat Zephyr immediately dove and ate it. 2. From my great-great-grandmother, I inherited the skull of a catfish shaped like a crucifix. When shaken gently, there is a rattle of calcium stones in the hollows where the ears once were. I remember perching it upon a shelf in an empty bedroom next to the fragile emerald carapace of a dead cicada and part of a squirrel jawbone, teeth intact. 3. You recently asked me if I'd want to be a shark, using electroreception to detect nerve impulses, hearing low-frequency hums discharged by dying fish, or a dolphin, emitting sound waves from an organ called melon teeth acting as antennas to receive the echoing back from the sea. And I answered, dolphin, and yes, you should know that it is for pleasure, and it is also because you make my teeth pulse, and it is also because I've grown bone-tired of fishing blindly for heartbeats in open seas, no echoing. 4. I dreamt of a past lover again last night. She pushed through a sea of people to get to me. She said, mine, and I glimpsed a hunger in her teeth like a shark's as she smiled before she kissed me. I woke, sore cage rattled and bitten. 5. The sea star has a vascular system of salt water rather than blood. Imagine what it must feel like to be completely filled with the very molecules that surround you. Do you ever write a poem and then a year later you just
rework it and change it completely. I did that today. So it's called Road Trip. 1. A treasured collection of books. My first drum kit bought from a guy on Craigslist. Dozens of lively houseplants I propagated myself. An antique chair that once belonged to my beloved dead grandmother. A countless number of cards marking every occasion saved and given to me by my mother. A torn love note scattered on the stained carpet. On and on. Life is all just one long series of letting goes, and the shedding of things somehow makes more soul space, feels less suffocating, less like the things I own me. 2. Heartbreak will drive you right into the wilderness at dawn, down a Forest Service road, or along a shiny asphalted freeway whose only exit dumps into the city during rush hour downtown, or both. I jumped in, headed west, was finally committed to something that was ready to receive. 3. I sit, legs splayed open, soles of socked feet hugging a mason jar filled with boiled water inside a sleeping bag underneath 3 thick blankets atop this twin-sized bed. And I see my breath in the air on the exhale while my dog sits whining by the door of the van, eyes wet and desperation big, shouting, "Aren't you going to let me up?" And I do. I always do. Thank you.
Miss Camilla, welcome back. Like always. Ding dong, the flight is here, it's so fine. There we go. Yeah, that E string.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, come on, come on. Come on and step right up, folks. You want to grab yourself a front row seat before they're gone. They're going fast. Hell, you don't want to miss this. It's time for another exciting installment of the Clyde Always Show. With me, you're always clever, always handsome, always charming host, Clyde Always. And no, I ain't no common carnival barker. I am the Bard of the Lower Hay. And I'm here to tell you guys stories. And tonight's story is going out to all the dog lovers. Are there any dog lovers in the audience? Yeah? Okay, swell.
I know a dog.
Oh, yeah. Well, this one is called The Fetchedest Dog in the West. On a sparkling Saturday morning it was, at the park in the town by the bay. That's where hundreds of hipsters and hounds were abuzz, saying, "Shucks, what a fetcherous day." It was fetch they were playing, but not did they care, as they lazily shuffled their paws. Any frisbee that flew would fall out of the air, then would dangle from slobbering jaws. But the wind seemed to shift when 2 strangers appeared, and the crowd went abruptly alert. With its deafening silence, a path then was cleared, making way for Georgina and Gert. Now Georgina, the human, a gambling gal, she extracted a wad from her vest. $50, says, she uttered while stroking her pal. Gert's the fetchin'est betch in the West. Such uproarious laughter went up through the park. Every collie retriever in pit, plus their masters were snickering. Some heard to bark, "Oh, that squirt probably couldn't fetch shit." Well, Georgina, she didn't back down on her bet, which some challengers offered to call. But they barely had time to say ready or set before Gertie was back with the ball. "All right, double or nothing," the challengers cried as they added more bread to the pot. "Bet your pooch couldn't wrangle one hard as she tried if it out of a cannon was shot." So they wheeled out a big iron gun to the grass, and then covered their ears to the sound. And kaboom went the cannon, and Gertie hauled ass, and she fetched up that 20-pound round. Now, Georgina, she didn't get cocky or brash when that cannonball fell at her feet. She just humbly reached out to scoop up her cash after tossing old Gertie a treat. But then came a wager too rich to believe from this billionaire scientist guy. He insisted that Gertie could never retrieve a big rocket from out of the sky, but Georgina defiantly told him, "You're on." Little Gertie had started to drool as a launch pad was swiftly prepared on the lawn, and the spacecraft was loaded with fuel. All the crowd counted down as the ground seemed to shake, and they gawked with their peepers agog as that rocket took flight, but there, right in its wake, rose that fetching, indomitable dog. Scrappy Gertie, she chased it clear over the sun. In a minute, they'd flown out of sight, and that scientist started to brag that he'd won after waiting 2 days and a night. But Georgina just scowled and smirked at this crook. It was bold that she deigned not to speak, as she'd secretly started to feel a bit shook after waiting the rest of the week. But then suddenly rang out this howling gale. To the cheers of the folks underneath, there was Gertie descending and wagging her tail with that rocket crushed up in her teeth. Hush up. Thank you very much.
Time about the show. Brief announcement.
If you guys like, if you found that quite stimulating, please come to my show at the Lost Church. And if you've never been to the Lost Church, it's a super cool vaudeville venue. You might want to check it out. I know E.K. Keith's going to be there. Okay, well. Anyway, that's it. Good night. I love you guys.
And when do you do your open mic?
Every Friday, but we're on hiatus because they're it's the retrofit. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
until such time as they tell you they're not. Give her another round of applause. That's the Clyde Always Master of Ceremonies honoree of the great honorees. And now Sharon Scott Tish is coming up here. Give her a round of applause. Taking us back to Kansas City.
This one is called The Sisters of the Wax Paper. Barbara and Margie had been friends since they were 11 years old. And now, in their 40s, they still had the same routine. Barbara had married a wealthy minister, and she was a fat, happy chick. Every Sunday after his service, she would stop by in her big blue Chrysler. But meanwhile, everyone is coming by. On Saturdays, people stop by, tips, lots of things from Uncle Buster. He would lay out food, people would pick up food, people would take food home, they would return tools. But on Sunday, it was a special day. Everyone dressed up, stopped by for dinner. There he had it laid out. Cakes, pies, rolls. On Sunday, Margie would always get the wing or the dried piece of roast beef at the end, because that's the way she didn't want it rare. Uncle Buster would always get the Pope's nose, his tail on the turkey. So people would drive up, and there they would put out their cars. All the covered dishes, all the women would take off their high heels, put on their slippers, put on the aprons, and help out. The men would sit there in suits, watch the TV, the only one on that block. All of a sudden, you would hear it screech up the driveway, and it would be Barbara. Now, Sunday was the only day that Margie would let you come in the front door. You always had to go in the garage, because she didn't want you to scratch up or ruin her Persian carpet. My mother, of course, said, open that damn front door any day that she came. She was not going in the side door. So Barbara would come in, and she would take her shoes off, put on her house slippers. Everyone would sit down for dinner. Barbara and Margie were like chipmunks. They could fill each jaw, eat, and chew from the middle. It was like grazing on steroids. Now, Barbara would eat for about 10 minutes, and then she would excuse herself and go to the bathroom. Then the door would open, and she would say, Margie, can you come in here for a minute? And Marjorie would get up and go in. And Marjorie would come out and she would go to the kitchen. And she would go in the middle drawer under the sink and she would get a paper bag. And she would take the bag to the bathroom. Barbara would come out, put the bag behind her purse, come sit down, take a deep breath and say, "That girdle was killing me." So then dinner would go on. Men would doze off watching TV. Sometimes they would make ice cream. But by the end of the day, when it was time to go home and everybody had a dish to go, Marjorie would go into the drawer and pull out wax paper and send Barbara home with a surprise. Now we would wait and count to 10, and the doorbell would ring again. And it was always the same every Sunday. "Has anybody seen my keys?" "Well, Barbara, are they in the chair where you had your purse?" "Oh yeah. Well, I'll call you when I get home." 10 minutes later, phone rings. There's Barbara. "I'm home." Well, Barbara, time went on, and they were in their 80s, and Barbara died. And I flew home for her funeral. And so Uncle Buster had some of his favorite clippings of some of his favorite roses, and he put them in her coffin. Marjorie put some of her favorite recipes in the coffin, and I put in a piece of wax paper.
Clarence got Kiss taking his way back. Lee Morris, give her a round of applause. She's going to just knock us out here. And then we have the mighty Hal Robbins, just so you would know.
Hello, I'm the voice. So
A voice.
This is the voice's last week with you.
Oh.
No, I'm gonna go back to Denver, sorry.
Okay.
So tonight, the voice decided she would give you some court scenarios, as I was a judicial assistant back in Denver. And so I'm gonna give you maybe one scenario. I have several, but if you want to hear a song, I'll just do one. I'll have to set this up for you. Here's the courtroom. Here's my office in the back. I left the door open. Pretty soon, I hear courtroom door open. Someone yells in there, "Judge Alexander, you're a devil." So the bailiff, he gets up out of the thing there and he tries to escort her out. "Don't touch me. I'm God's daughter." So he finally gets her out of there, and she comes around to my office. She starts going through the file cabinets that were on the other side of the cabinet, on the other side of the counter. I said, "Ma'am, what are you doing?" "I'm looking for something." She says, "I'm mad at you because my court date is 2 years. 2 years in the future." I said, "That's not my fault." "Oh, yes, it is." "No, it's not. I just got into that courtroom because they switch us every 2 years. I've just been there for about a week." So she says, "Well, who are you?" "I happen to be the clerk here." "Oh, we have an uppity N-word," she says to me. I said, "Lady, do you have a job?" "Yes, I have a job." "I suggest that you go to your job and get out of my office." So she stays around and hurls more insults. She leaves and goes across the hall to the clerk's office and intimidates them down the hall. So it's afternoon. I lock my door. Pretty soon I hear bang, bang, bang. "Let me in here." "No, the door is locked. You can't come in." Well, the judge comes out. "Open that door." Okay, well, I have to open the door, but he doesn't have to deal with her because he's going back on the bench. So she continues to harass me and hurl insults. And I thought, am I going to have to put this heifer in one of them file cabinets? She better not leave me alone. So she gets in my face and she says, "I'm going to whip your black ass after work." I said, "Okay, I'll be sitting right here waiting for you." And she came back you all came back. No, she did not come back, and she did not whip nobody. She came back later. She apologized to everybody except me. I guess she was scared. And I would have whipped her. I would have whipped her. So now I will, since it's my last one, I will sing a song for you. Yay. All right. What's it all about, Alfie? Is it just for the moment you live? What's it all about when you sort out, Alfie? Are we meant to take more than we give? Or are we meant to be kind? And if only fools are kind, Alfie, then I guess it is wise to be cruel. And if life belongs only to the strong, Alfie, what will you lend on an old golden rule? As sure as I believe there's a heaven above, Alfie, I know there's something much more, something even unbelievers can believe in. I believe in love, Alfie. Without true love, you just exist, Alfie, until you find the love you've missed. You're nothing, Alfie. When you walk, let your heart lead the way, and you'll find love any day, Alfie, Alfie. I almost didn't sing for you tonight. I've been coughing.
Thank you. That's Lee Morris, ladies and gentlemen. The voice. Al Robbins. And then we got Ira, then Peter, then Garrett, then Alan, and then looks like Muzak, and then Taylor before Jacob comes back. So we got things going on here.
Ars Poetica by Archibald MacLeish. A poem should be palpable and mute, like a globed fruit, dumb as old medallions to the thumb, as silent as the sleeve-worn stone of casement windows where the moss has grown. A poem should be wordless as a flight of birds. A poem should be motionless in time as the moon climbs, leaving as the moon releases twig by twig the night-entangled trees, leaving as the winter leaves memory by memory the mind. A poem should be motionless in time as the moon climbs. A poem should be equal to, not true, for all the history of grief, an empty doorway and a maple leaf, for love, for leaning grasses and two lights above the sea. A poem should not mean, but be. I'll do another one. Prospice by Robert Browning. To fear death, to feel the fog in my throat, the wind in my face, where the snows begin and the blasts denote I am nearing the place. The power of the night, the press of the storm, the post of the foe, where he stands, the arch fear in a visible form. Still, the strong man must go, for the journey is done, and the summit attained ere the barriers fall. Though a battle's to fight ere the guerdon be gained, the reward of it all. I was ever a fighter, so one fight more, the best and the last. I would hate that death bandaged my eyes and forbore, and bade me creep past. No, let me taste the whole of it, fare like my peers, the heroes of old, bear the brunt in a minute, pay glad life's arrears of pain, darkness, and cold. For sooner the worst turns the best to the brave, the black minutes at end, and the elements rave, the fiend voices that rage shall dwindle, shall blend, shall change, shall become first a light, then a peace out of pain, then thy breast, O soul of my soul, I shall clasp thee again, and with God be the rest.
Well, Robin, in the attribution sheet. Just clap. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Ira.
Ira. Whoops. Ira. Oh, all right.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody because I've thoroughly enjoyed myself.
I'm glad.
I'm a newbie.
This is not your first time here, though, right? This is your first. This is his first time here. I thought he'd be here. Come on, man. I'm sorry. I thought you had been here before.
Don't be sorry.
That's okay. I didn't have a chance to have them all do the shouting, but that's good.
Yeah,
Very good.
I thoroughly enjoyed myself, so I may come back.
All right.
I'm going to read something from my friend Bill Brad's book.
To the mic.
I have a friend named Bill Brad, lives in Mendocino County up on the coast. He's an old friend of mine. And he has a couple of books, and this is one of his books from about 40 years ago. It's called The Kingdom of Old Men. He's a Canadian. He grew up in the Shield of Canada, which is northern Ontario. He's a real backcountry guy. He lives at the mouth of 10 Mile River in Mendocino Coast. If you know anything about it, it's pretty remote up there still. Anyhow, he's struggling, and I asked him if I could read a few things, and he said, go ahead. The whistle stop. King George VI came to our town. Red, white, and blue bunting decked the depot porch, and a large Union Jack was painted on the south wall of the station. This train slowed noticeably as it came near, slowing not so much so that we could see, but rather it slowed so as not to shake down the wooden structure. Some waved tiny flags. The men cheered, and then the train gathered speed again and heading north to the bay. The sawmill closed for an hour, and the children at the brick school had the morning off. Everyone in town was there. One lady, Mrs. Feeder, cried and cried, saying, God bless the king. Others, less involved with God, but pennies on the track, put pennies on the track so they could hold them up years later and say that here was a penny that had been flattened by the train of King George VI. In the north, there were few chances for souvenirs, and there were finally some who didn't know or care who the king was. And they spent the morning drinking wine under the railroad bridge north of town and were, as the story goes, shat upon by the king's own arsehole. Afterwards, some laughed about it, and some searched for the turds. Canadian kind of stuff, I would think. One little one. It is not a magnificent thing to trap an animal. The trees do not quake. The snow is barely disturbed. There is none of the natural fury of the rutting season. It is a silent, crying death. When the body is stiff and still, and when the rude winds can make bold rippling the winter coat, then we of the shield should stoke up the fires, for we will not be far behind. Our magnificence will be gone with the last Arctic fox, and strangers will not need a club for our balding heads.
Thank you. Thank you, Ira. Hal, make sure he gets the attribution sheet. He's going to give you the thing so you can write down the guy's name. Hal will give you that in just a second.
Okay.
All right. Peter?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
All right. Is this your first time here?
Yeah.
Ah. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, a newbie.
Greetings. Hey, hey. How are you?
I'm fine.
I'm going to use this allpoetry.com app to look like I'm a techie and know what the fuck I'm doing, which is a complete misnomer, trust. But it's kind of fun. They give you feedback and even points, which I don't know what to do with. Okay, so this is called, well, I'll read this one first. It's called The Ohlone Tribe of Native Americans in California. The Ohlone Tribe of Native Americans in California, named after a Spanish novel creation in the 16th century, degenerated into gay orgies, devolving their tribal ties into wine, men, and song. The northern half of Bay Area is already engulfed apocalyptic, flame godly wrath notwithstanding. LA is next. Sunny dreaming as moral windrift disasters await wrath godly judgment. I am an avowed homosexualist, loosening social binds into physical total infrastructure, incinerate suburban gated communities guarding street life. Against all odds, I have survived, legion certain death, because anal intercourse didn't turn me on. The Romans fell, still debated why. Are we in for thousands-year orgy kills, sitting in our fiefdoms waiting to die? Real estate prices continue to escalate into infernal chaos as we gather the pieces of our shattered lives. Okay, this one's called Fashion Statements. Okay. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, my Nixon pose. All right, this is called Fashion Statements. The first stab at adornment, purest necessity. We, the hairless, face the elements without fur. Strangest anomaly naked, hostile environment evolved. Hairy apes forbearing certain doom. Hide, slaughter, animal pure necessity. Genitalia exposed to modestly entice procreative desire, enhanced by non-exposure. Then the draping toga, man, woman, same, changed the golden bangle wealth ready-wear, your riches on you at all times safety. Then the estranged woman form and shroud, proving ownership male property, chastity preserved, a belt for men included. Pantaloons, male flowing robed woman, accentuate sexual tension, desire, differentiate. A scented handkerchief, female dropped, retrieve manly loving, romantic pang, heartfelt removal from beloved to imagine her embrace once more. Then sleek machine ready-wear, made uniformly sales quotient,
Bottom line replaces ostrich plume, adorn, almost wiping out entire species. Demon fashion hands fur pelts, currency, maiden form formless in the 60s. Glitter Gary is now dead. Unisex, debilitate, shave few I'm pissed off about. My long hair era long gone. A fossil in time removed.
I don't think you'll have time to do another one.
What?
I don't think you'll have time to do another one. We're like,
Oh, are we really out of time? I can't do one more?
Yeah, because it's going to go off. It's going to beep any second.
Okay, well, thank you, kids. I'm a member of the Barbara's Saturday Club, and I've been meaning to come here
Oh,
for
great.
years.
How's that
So
going?
good to meet you. It's kind of...
just snap it in
Yeah,
there.
it's kind of, I haven't been going.
Oh.
It's over. I don't think she's doing it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so
Oh.
I'm gonna come back to this.
Okay, all right.
Take your care, kids.
All right.
Thank you.
Garrett Murphy.
Garrett.
And then after Garrett, we have Alan, Muzak, Taylor, and then Jacob closing us out, just so people know what's what or what. And of course, all these fancy prizes, which, like I say, are designed with year 9. Is that good?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Well, so going along. Anywhere and everywhere you see them around. Some are erect, many on their sides. Some appear to be off cold. Others look live as hot coals. You see them on the streets, mounted or not, and they ask for only a buck to start, a buck to boot, or is it a buckaroo? If you don't watch out, you could fall over one. If you don't watch out, they may find some in the lake. Their abundance is not unlike that of the homeless, but the homeless presence is understandable due to policies that lead to such. But the policy regarding the scooters is much more tolerant, though frankly those scooters, along with their makers, their riders, and their so-called regulators, one might wish they just plain scoot. Here come the refugees from the Great American Way. Deadlier than a Charlottesville supremacist, more dangerous than a shooter of synagogues, more frightening than a funeral cops, who after all are just very fine folks. And you have, drumroll and all, the dreaded refugees of Central America, armed with little more than the shirts on their backs, polluting the air that we all must breathe. Shelter your wives and your children after salvaging yourself, for they have come here to despoil our great land, as no rabbit gun-toting bigot ever could. While they flee their own world, ravaged and tarnished by forces mostly made in USA. And they have nerve to return our gratitude? Ungrateful. There once was a time so sad long past when being pale meant you needed more color. Not a rather mean way. Here's what I mean. What do I mean? I mean that one has to have the means to not to be mean, or being mean to stop the means, meaning the ends think they justify the means. But let's find the means to expel the mean from the spirits, and that shall be the means to a well-meaning world. We all should, well, mean it.
Murphy, thank you. Alan, then Muzak, then Taylor, then Jacob. Alan Harris. The mighty Alan Harris, at long last.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know how to do it. He's a master
David.
of the mic.
Oh, he's not here.
Master of the mic. Sorry about that.
Is it time already? That is never 5 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm a server at a seafood restaurant. I have a guest who tells me that he wants to order one of the non-seafood items on our menu, a steak. And he explains to me that the reason he's ordering a steak and not a seafood item is because he is deathly allergic to seafood, and therefore his steak must be prepared in such a way as to not come in contact with anything that has ever, at any time, also come in contact with seafood. It must be cooked on a surface on which no seafood has ever been cooked. None of the utensils used in the cooking of the steak must have ever been used to cook seafood. The plate on which the steak is being served must have never been used to serve seafood. That his allergy to seafood is so severe that if his steak comes in contact with anything that has ever at any time in the history of the world also come in contact with seafood, no matter how many times that thing has been washed, he could die. Now, have I mentioned that I'm a server? What used to be known as a waiter before political correctness demanded that the terms waiter and waitress be replaced by the non-gender specific term server, that I am a server of food and not a medical professional, not a doctor, not a nurse, not an EMT, that I am someone who merely serves food to people. And yet, despite my lowly station in life, this man feels that it is entirely appropriate for him to put his life into my hands, to place on my shoulders the burden of keeping him alive, to put me in the position of being the only thing standing between him and almost certain death by seafood. In a seafood restaurant! Maybe, I think, he doesn't realize that he's in a seafood restaurant. Maybe the fact that almost every item on the menu is some sort of seafood doesn't make it apparent enough to him that he is in fact sitting in a seafood restaurant. Maybe the decor, which includes life preservers, life jackets, fishing nets, and even fish mounted on the walls, as well as paintings of fishermen at sea actually fishing, along with fish tanks and lobster tanks and an oyster bar and a sushi bar. Maybe none of these things is enough to alert this man to the fact that he is in fact in a seafood restaurant. The one place that a person like him, someone afflicted with an allergy to seafood, so dangerous that even taking a photo of him with a camera that has a fish eye lens on it could kill him, should never go into. I mean, does he have some sort of death wish? What if he does? What if he knows very well that he's in a seafood restaurant and he's given me this impossible mission because he wants me to fail at it? If so, what the hell? I mean, if you're gonna kill yourself, why drag me into it? You know, take an overdose of sleeping pills or jump off the Golden Gate Bridge like a normal person. Don't hatch an elaborate plot that hinges on the failure of some poor, pathetic food server to carry out an unrealizable task. Waiting tables is stressful enough without a body count to contend with. Finally, I ask, excuse me, sir, but if you're so perilously allergic to seafood, why would you even risk walking into a seafood restaurant, let alone ordering food in one? He points at the two people sitting at the table with him. My friends wanted seafood. Well, may I suggest that if these people were really your friends, they would be willing to forego seafood for one night so that you could have a fighting chance of living through the meal. You'd think that if these people were really your friends, they wouldn't want you to risk your life just because they're in the mood for crab cakes. I don't actually say this, I just think it.
Yeah.
What I actually say is, there's no way that I can guarantee your safety, sir. It's then that he asks to speak to the manager, who thankfully assigns the table to another server, as he feels that my relationship with this particular guest has deteriorated due to my excessive concern for his well-being. With as much condescension as he can muster, the manager suggests to me that maybe food server isn't the right profession for me, since I obviously can't handle the pressures that come with the job. I suggest to him that maybe someone working for tips shouldn't be put in the position of having to safeguard someone else's existence. The next day, I apply for a job with the post office. Because the post office provides a valuable service, has room for advancement, is the largest employer of union workers in the country. And as far as I know, no one is allergic to the mail. Thank you.
Alan Harris! Love it. Muzak. All right. And then we got Taylor and then Jacob closing us out.
Hey, how's everybody? It's my first time here too.
Hey, all right.
So I'm gonna play some original tunes. I got some CDs, 2019, just hand-drawn art and stuff on it. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Strictly Rub-a-Dub is what it's called. So this is a tune that's not on the album. But I think I'll get around to a tune on the album. So yeah, I'm gonna play some music. Hope y'all enjoy it. One step forward and two step. Hold up. All right. One step forward and two step backwards and everything right soon to go wrong. Once I fall down, I pick myself back up and pull myself together now. I'm twice as strong, twice as strong. Whoa. Twice as strong. Whoa. One step forward and two step backwards and everything right seems to go wrong. Once I fall down, I pick myself back up and put myself together now. I'm twice as strong, twice as strong. Twice as strong. Yeah, that's it. Alright, so this one's on the album, so here. So we lost the tune. So too much demolition in this democracy. Mortgaging class jailhouse still sentence for road and slaves in slavery. I'm not used to bombing this so hard. I'm used to like hearing a little bit more guitar here or something like. Bear with me, y'all. So this one's on. It doesn't sound as bad on there, but it's like pretty original quality, you know. Anyway, so here you go. Too much demolition in this democracy. Mortgage youth class fellas jailhouse for sentence parole for slaves in slavery. Equal rights and justice must be for all life you see. Chant for peace and make war cease today. Too much demolition in this democracy. Mortgage youth class fellas jailhouse for sentence parole and slaves in slavery. Equal rights and justice must be for all life you see. Chant for peace and make war cease today. Chant for peace and make war cease today. Chant for peace and make war cease today.
You have to go at this one. Time to give it short.
Huh?
You have to go to the next person.
All right.
Give him a nice round. This is your first time here, right?
Yeah.
All right, give him another one.
Taylor?
Taylor? Oh, good. You decided to go on. Thank you. Give him a round. This is his new one. He's new. Taylor.
Hi guys. So I read a lot. This is actually my first time reading it at open mic, so we'll see how this goes. I harken back to when I had a sparkle in my eye, when I didn't have to wonder. No, time was on my side. Wonder if I But look back on my life as an aside, and if I made a difference, was it conscious? Did I try? Sometimes the influential count on massive accidental happenings that seem so calculated, nay, experimental. I digress though. More and more as I grow older, I expand and mull thoughts over to explain them to myself, for if I don't, there is no closure. There's so much here to ponder, the unmitigated gall of telling people over yonder how to run their country. We ignore our weak impoverished. It seems we've reached a place divided where the average person finds himself alone and undecided. Politics and morals, should they not go hand in hand? There is no solid argument in drawing lines in sand. It seems each day reality can blow away. The wind can move every which way, and people tell me just to pray. As much as I would say, that's a start if you believe, but there's so much more to do for people just like you and me. We give all that power to some people we will never see. In layman's terms, I'm saying, look at all we can achieve. The only change occurs when one looks deep and honestly, takes an inventory of the whole of what makes up your being. But who am I? Merely an observer of a modern-day Rome, watching greed and pompous arrogance tarnish the throne. But fret not, he wears the crown, never backing down. The government shut down, and yet he thinks it's so profound. The Great Wall was built in a date ending in BC, and here we are, present day, the masterminds in DC. Think, hey, let's try this, it could work, but until we get our money, let's just make these people work. But we won't pay them, we'll just take it day by day then. Eventually, a month will go by, hopefully no mayhem ensues. I mean, sure we misused our power. Second thought, I'm Donald, I'll do what I choose. And should we differ views, I'll merely tell you that you're wrong as if you sit and watch in pews. So just pay your dues. It's all fake news.
Thank you. Bravely done. And now Jacob coming back to close us out. And then we'll take care of these prizers. And like I like to say, if you've had half as much as fun as I've had, you've had too much fun. All right. This is the marvelous and magical Jacob Sandiego.
Hey, thanks. These are
Soon to be famed.
These are sketch poems. Ooh, whatever. I'll leave that later. These are sketch poems. I just kind of write when they come to me randomly. This one's called "Loved." I thought it'd be fitting because you read some love poems tonight. So this one's called "Loved." Love survives the summer, only to die in the winter. I'm not bitter. I pray your heart still glitters, like the moon, the night we met and you took me home. I'd say I miss you, but I still visit you in dreams. Our imagined dialogue continues through these poems. Is that one?
Nice.
This one is called Chinatown Sketch.
I see the Chinatown butchers and busboys sitting along the sidewalk, chain-smoking cigarettes between shifts. They pass the lighter down in assembly line fashion, drinking herbal tea to stay awake. One shouts to the store clerk across the street. He comes out and produces a flask. They each smile and take a few swigs, talking rapidly. The tallest of the bunch raises his phone, and they all gather around, laughing in unison. The smiles fade. Back to work. This sketch one's called Borders, and it's for Guatemala's flowers. We almost gave her government aid, but her origins are from that side, not this side. For a moment, the officer saw his daughter's face in hers. But then he remembered our president's words. She is a descendant of thugs. She's illegal. She's not our property to tend to. He's not paid for morality. Right and wrong are not part of the conversation when it comes to borders. A man-made line drawn in the sand. The difference between life and death could have been a helping hand, but yet again, division has ended a life before it began. And this last one is for one of my favorite Hate Street vagabonds named Jay. There is no more orange juice in the fridge. You dropped blotter acid in it last night and put it in the Baptist punch bowl. They danced like loons, freshly freed from insanity. Jesus did the moonwalk, and his body was passed around from mouth to mouth, and everyone became God and walked across the ocean until they reached the edge. Down the rabbit hole, walk through the rainbow, and greet yourself at the other side. Hello, me. And this time, you will mean it. Thank you. Everybody have a good night.
All right, so I'm gonna. Oh yeah. don't forget.
I need to write the title too.
We're going to reintroduce the door prizes just so people know. Midnight at Mom and Dad's by Jane Radis. Rosary of Poems, Rosary of Poems, 5 Decades, also by Jane Radis. So she gave me these, but she has some features, so they're here. The calendar, 2019, Poet of San Francisco, thanks to Sharon Scott Kish's generosity. And then 3 issues of Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse 2, Crazy Horse doesn't say 50 cents, and this is Crazy Horse 3, so it must be 1, 2, and 3. And then, Sid Gershgorn's Negative Space, a great collection. And then if those don't float your boat or make you whistle a happy note, you can have the last word like Jacob just did and introduce and close out the second half. Choose the theme or prompt that Tommy, not Tommy with an I, but Tommy with a Y did last time. Co-pilot, Sharon is doing that this evening. The keynote, which you saw Tommy do at the very beginning, and the mini feature, which was David tonight, but he was not here, and I think probably he was not feeling very well. So I'm going to take these cards. When you signed in, you sign next to a name, number next to a name, or name next to a name. Sharon's going to shuffle those a little bit. I've been shuffling them all obsessively like I normally do. And then when your name is called, you may come and take one of these fine prizes designed with your mind in mind. If you don't mind. All right. And then these handouts are for Sally Love Saunders. In case you haven't heard about that, you can take one of those. They're really nice events. They're always on Sundays in the morning, late morning, and they read poetry and have food. So it's nice. All right. So number 6.
Number 6 is Sam.
Is Sam still here? Sam? No. How about 19? That's you. What do you want, dear? Oh, she wants to be the co-host. Where'd my pen go? Thank you. Co-host, where is that? It might be Sharon. All right, and then we have number 16.
Number 16 is Melissa.
Melissa Miller, you are a prize winner. Come up here and take whichever one you think you might like. Oh wait a minute, you already did the co-pies. We already got that. Any of these fine prizes, and you're familiar with them. How you doing?
What?
How you doing? You look like you're
I'm
happy,
good. Yeah.
cheerful.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, you're not going to be here?
I
You can
said,
still
I'm
choose.
I'm happy to be here. Is what
Oh,
I said.
I thought you said you were not here. Yes, I'm glad to see you though.
I do the last word.
Yes.
I get 2 slots. If I do
Yes.
the mini feature, I get 1 slot.
Yes.
I'll do the last word.
Okay, we have Melissa Miller as the last word. Woohoo! All right, and then we have number 28. Muzak. You want a prize. Any one of these things are yours, or if you're coming back next week, you can choose one of these two.
Oh my god, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, he goes with the poetry. 18.
Clyde.
Climb! Hut, ha! Hut, there, ha! Hor, har!
Oh, is this all 3 of them, or just the one?
Huh?
Just the one?
Yeah, you pick one thing that you... Oh, the keynote! Well, one wonder what he will do. And then 24. Garrett Murphy.
Garrett.
So you have these, or you can choose the theme or do the mini feature, but I know you might not be able to be here. Whatever you want. This is brand new. Good music.
February 25th.
Jane Radis said last week. Yeah.
No, but they helped me record some of
That's
the songs,
awesome.
so I think maybe
There we go. Jane Radis goes. EK.
I saw you, I heard you, I think, 27, Alan Harris. Alan Harris. Is he gone? Did he go? Oh. The back room? Well, okay, so, oh, Alan, you won a prize here.
I won a prize, shampoo.
Shampoo?
Remember the poem you read about the shampoo and the conditioner? She's referencing yeah. So you have this, or those.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take the calendar.
Take the calendar?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
By the way, Dan, can I just say, nice guy.
Thank you.
Al Robbie.
The thing. This is my new request.
A lot of the poems I read tonight were about Lady Park because, you know, that it's just like running cat.
So let's do
mini feature.
And choose the theme
Or choose the theme.
Alright, I'll choose the theme of epigrams.
It's the end of the month, right? Next month.
Next week's daily theme is epigram, just so you know. Epigram. 29. That's Taylor. Taylor? Any one of these three or the mini feature, if you want to come back to do it. Yes, that's I think you'll like 23.
Peter.
Peter? Is Peter still? I don't think Peter's still here. 11. That would be the cursive writer.
Richard.
Right there. Can't that guy wake him up? He comes in here.
What's what?
These two or that?
Yeah, how long is that? 8 minutes?
Yeah. Hey, we got our mini. And Buford, you got 2 small books up here. Is he still here?
No, he left.
Buford left? Okay. 20. Ira? Ira, you have either one of these. Either one of these are door prizes that you may select from.
Oh, well, I'll just take this.
Yeah, there you go.
My hand landed on it.
That's right.
Your stories are wonderful. The second time I've heard your stories.
Jacob, you want this? You're the next card? What is it? It's just an old anthology from way back when.
Yeah, why not?
All right, there you go.
Might as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, next week, I should have said this earlier and I was so forgetful. Wendy Walters is the feature on February 6th. Wendy Walters will be the feature on February 6th.
Buford's outside.
Oh, I thought someone said he left.
No, I did. He went out.
Oh, but he's out there. Oh, I didn't. Okay, we didn't know.
This is cool. It's like a 19.
Yeah, epigram.
I'm excited about that one.
Thank you, and thank you. No,
Glad
thank
finally
you.
read
No,
it.
no, thank you. No, thank you.
No,
No, you.
I'm glad he finally read.
Say again?
I said I'm glad he finally read because
I know. That was, you were nervous. You were nervous. Or were you?
I had it kind of laid out how I wanted to deliver it, so I was trying to keep it under control.
That's good. That's good.
I hadn't read in front of people before, so.
Ah, well, you know,
instrument stuff. I've done music and stuff like that. I've never done anything for a live.
Yeah, I understand. There's a difference between those things.
So are you going to write some fresh epigrams for next year?
I'm going to hope to do that. Here, this is something you might be interested in someday. Give one to your, what's his name over there? Because she does this every once in a while, and you go there, you sit around, people read their poems, and then they have like a little punch.
Oh, that sounds
It's
great.
free. So all the inspiration is there. It's on Fulton and your third. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
All right.
2020.
Oh, yeah.
Good night, Sharon. Good night. Can I ask you, you said that your friend read a poem of mine? Yeah. Which one was it? What about really? Because I brought it over and I showed it to her. Where did she read it? At the house. She was just reading. Oh, okay. I thought she like read it at a reading. No. I just wanted to see it. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Always a pleasure.
You knocked it out. I love that. I mean, it's a semi-true story. Semi-true.
It is based on a truth. And I worked at a seafood restaurant. Somebody actually came out and said, you can't, you can't cook this where you cook the seafood. I'm like, restaurants everywhere.
I know. I might have said, let me advise the chef. And then you go back and say, I want to go home.
Yeah.
I'm suddenly ill.
Yeah, no, it's just. And he actually said to me, well, I've had it done here before. And I'm like, oh, and you survived?
And you survived.
My mistake. Anyway, how's your Wendy doing?
She's good. She's, she had stuff. She's going to be doing a little like an out of town visit, so she's trying to get ready for that. And didn't want to come here, or else it would get in the way of that.
Right. Okay.
But she'll be here next week as the pizza.
She'll be. Oh, she's the field. Wendy Walt. Oh,
yes.
I forgot that's her last name.
Yeah. Wendy the Walter.
So Wendy's gonna be the feature next week.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I didn't think of that. Okay, well.
That'd be fun. She would love to see you. She always likes your stuff.
What's next Wednesday?
It's the 6th.
Yeah, it's the first, and then I'm sorry, I'm thinking stuff. Are you going to be at La Promenade on Saturday?
That is the plan. That is the plan.
A little contagious. Oh, I'm sorry. Hi. How are you feeling?
With his fingers.
Oh,
nice.
I understand the confusion by that. Okay.
You know what this reminds me of? When my friend Phyllis Diller died, I sent her a get well card. Her brother, her son won't talk to me anymore. And I said, listen, Phyllis understood. She got it. She got it. She got it. Thank you very much, everybody.